So, my name is Chaput, and I'm going to show you how I make pressed plates. Oh, here comes another couple of people, so come on over.
Okay.
And the answer is, it is the easiest thing that you can make in ceramics. You need some foam. Now, if you only have one piece of foam or a seat cushion or something like that, put some plastic on your couch, put it on top of your couch. Couch cushions make great foam for pressed plates. You need a slab of clay. Okay, this one I've been handling it, so it's gotten a little bit dinged up, but
I'll figure it out.
that. You need something to press into it. And I was going to use, there should be a square. What you do, you put the slab on top of the foam. You put your form, what you're going to do, and try to get it centered. It's hard because you can't just look down on it. You have to look around everywhere, and then you press. And you roll, press around.
Wow.
Good press. And there you have it.
Wow.
Now, is that easy?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is this right here. I can pick it up. So
This clay is already dried a little bit?
okay, that's what I'm going to tell you about.
Oh,
Okay, so
Okay.
I bought some Laguna B-Mix so that all these, whatever I fooled around with would be consistently with the same clay. And what you need to do is, first of all, you need to make the slab. You can do that with the rolling pin and the guides. You can do an inch. So if you want a 1/4 inch, you just put it down and roll it, and it rolls it smooth all the way to the edges. So you can pass that around and look at it. You just
How thick do you usually make them?
So I watched a lot of videos to see what other people were doing with pressed plates, and most people said that they were making them 3/8 of an inch thick. So I said, okay, I'm going to try that. So I rolled this one and that one out to 3/8 of an inch. And I also said, well, how am I going to finish the edges? And I have to say, edges for me are a real pain in a problem area. I have had so many teachers do various kinds of slab construction, and they do something, they say, we'll take out the edges later. But they never did. I never saw what they did to take out the edges.
Because they found it a pain.
So what I decided to do was to do some experimenting. So this one is 3/8 of an inch thick, and I finished the edges as square edges. So as long as you're gentle, you can pass it around. Not this one. This one is also 3/8 of an inch thick, but I rounded the edges, and I'm not quite finished with this one. I rounded them, and you'll see they look thinner because they're rounded. Now you can't start working on the edges right away. If you do, well, you might be able to smooth a little bit of the edge, but basically it's a problem. You have to let them sit a little bit. And then, again, there are lots of different ways. If there are people here who make pressed plates, please jump in and tell me what you do. We can pass this around too. But do this, just leave it upside down. You can also, once you take it off, you can press this down a little bit. Excuse me. Excuse me, I have a throat problem, but I always press this down if you want it to be not as relaxed. You can let it sit for a while like this. But if it's a 1/4 inch at least thick, once you take it off, it's probably gonna be okay. And you can always put some foam. I've heard people say they use curlers, and apparently there's a long rubber foam curler. So I thought I'd go look for some of those and see.
How about those paddles? The sunflower paddles?
Oh, they just stayed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, how do you prepare your slab? So again, there are lots of opinions. At a minimum, you need to roll your clay, your slab, and let it sit, just like mine is sitting over there, for 10 to 15 minutes. I would probably say 20 minutes. It needs to firm up slightly. And it'll be much easier to shape if you let it, if you do that. Now you need to cut, excuse me, back to the slab. You need to smooth it. So you can use various ribs for smoothing. My new favorite rib, which I bought at our sale, rib it slowly. It slightly compresses it, it smooths it, it takes out any texture. Not doing it very hard. Just getting a smooth surface. You can, if you want, do it to the back side as well. Dish. You can also do it at this point. You want to take out that texture. Or fingerprints or anything else. Cracks. If you've let it get a little too dry and it cracks, just rib it. What do I like to rib it with? I like these mud tools ribs for that. I personally like a metal rib for smoothing and compressing. And then I like to use a mud tools rib. I like the yellow one. Red is okay. You know that they're color coded. And each one gets firmer. This one I thought was going to be great, but it's not. I don't like it as well as the others. And a lot of people just use the metal rib. You can also use a credit card. Credit card will also.
So if I want to texture that before I press down into that, do you run into any problems of it?
That's when you texture it. As long as you leave it, in that case, I would say leave it at least 20 minutes before you texture it. And then texture what you want. And then when you press it, it's actually, you'll be surprised, but it's not gonna hurt the texture.
Okay.
So, I will texture one for you later, but let me just point out that this one, so this one, I said, okay, I'm gonna texture it. And I used this mat. And I peeled the mat off, and I said, that is so boring. That doesn't look like anything. So I just took a roller and rolled it right over the texture of this mat. And I said, oh, I like that. That worked out just fine. And you can always use different textures and combine them in different ways. So.
How do you do this texture?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that too.
Okay, that one, I'll come back to that,
Okay.
but I will tell you.
Now, is this what you like
Yes,
after you rolled it? So before you rolled it, it just didn't have enough definition?
right.
Okay.
It was just these little kind of oblong blobs right to start with for it. Okay, so how long can you leave your slab to firm up? I left one for half an hour and had no problem at all. I thought, well, what would happen if I wrapped it up in plastic and left it overnight? And that's what I did to this one. And this one was a fairly thick one, and it's still pressed, but this was what I was using to press it. and it was too stiff to evenly come up around the bowl. But I thought, well, I kind of like that.
Yeah, nice.
But I would say then, so leaving it overnight is gonna be too long. Leaving it overnight is better for, I can't remember now the designation term, but you can get, there are various forms of hard slabs for building different things, and that would be better for that. Okay, so what are you gonna use to press your plate? We have some wooden forms. We also have some that are like plaques from the craft store. If it's a hard edge, you're gonna have a hard line like this. Like that one there. With the little tea light holders. I made the first one, which is the white one. And I said, oh my goodness, I forgot I have to have something to push down on. So I grabbed a plastic cup, filled it with clay, and pushed, and that worked fine. And I wish I'd taken a few more minutes because it would have been a fine stamp, but it's uneven on the bottom. So I'll have to make another one. But that worked fine. At home, I used a little, whoops. Trouble with water, it's clear. I used a little dish that had just a very tiny foot ring. And I used it on the other two, and I liked that, the way they came out.
Did you use a stencil?
I used a cookie
cookie
cutter.
cutter?
Yeah. For this one, I decided that I was going to make a spoon holder out of the heart. So I cut out the heart, and then I used a pony roller to lengthen it a little bit and spin it out. Here you can see that it's thick on one side, and then it gets thin. And then what I used, so then I just used my thumbs to pull up the sides a little bit, and then that's what I used to press it into the foam. I set it there, and I pressed into the foam. So you can use all kinds of things. Okay, let's check my
Why did you want it to be good at the point?
great edge problem. So, number one is you can't really do good edges if the clay is still wet. It really has to have gotten at least to a soft lid or hard or just short of that. And what I discovered is that if I want to smooth a square, a right angle, then first of all, I have to be very careful when I cut my slab in the first place.
Red one. There's a red under
Oh, okay. Thank you. And I wanted to tell you, I used a regular needle tool. That's another reason I like to work on my own board, because I don't have to worry about cutting through anything. I don't know if you know that there are two kinds of needle tools. This one is firm, silver. This one with a wooden handle is quite flexible. Some people like the flexible one, so I like this for some things, I like this for others, but for this, because if I want to get nice straight edges, I want to use this one. You can also, according to YouTube, use a knife, and whenever we talk about knives, not this one. I use, there's this kind of pottery knife, but my favorite is a scalpel. Yep, disposable scalpels. You sell them for $1 a piece. You can buy whole boxes of them on Amazon. And they're very, very sharp. They come with a cover, and they're very nice. But they will cut through whatever is under your slab, so you have to be very careful. I would never cut on something like this. On a ware board, it would have to do that. That's one reason I like a needle tool, you have a better control of the pressure, knowing how hard you're pushing, and get a good edge. This one is not firm enough yet. Shoot. I was hoping I would have one that was firm enough. But this is what I do. My first tool of choice is a Sureform. There's a small one made by Mud Tools. This is a very good one you can buy at Home Depot. If I want to have a curve, this will shred the edge, and I'm just going to do it even though this isn't firm enough yet. And this will begin to take off the edges. But you do get lines. So what do you do with the lines? Because you can't, you know, some people manage to just work it with their fingers, and if the clay is softer, you can do that. But if you let it get slightly firmer than that, then what you can do is use a serrated rib, which also comes, by the way, in two, you know, flexible and stiff. And you can score. And then you can use either a rib with a notch, and just to prove it would work, I made one at home. Just cut a notch. And when you drag that over, that will smooth out the scoring and help to round the surface. So
So after
if you
you
want
press
to
the,
look at that, you can see that that's gotten much rounder.
after you press the bowl, about how long do you have to wait before it gets like leather hard? And do you just let it dry, or do you put a bag over it?
No, you don't put a bag over it. You could, I would just let it dry. And I would say for 45 minutes to an hour,
Oh, okay, so not very, okay.
during which time you're pressing other plates.
You can put it outside, right? If it's a sunny day, and you can just keep an eye on it.
Yep, you can do that. So anyway, I like that for forming it. Again, it's loose, but you could pass it around and you can see what that process has done to that one edge. It's made it much smoother.
Was this the same measurement?
It's the same idea, but I let this one get a little bit too firm because I was dealing with this very thick clay and I wasn't sure exactly. I would have done it a little bit earlier.
So is this the thickness you usually?
Okay, well, okay, look at this. I don't really like this in here. This is, you know, it's some wood texture or whatever. What am I gonna do with that? So the tool that I like for that is this. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a square, but it's turned on end, so it's diamond shape. And I like to trim this line with that tool. And then I'll use my rib to smooth it out. Oops, I just put a dent in it. Okay, so again, it could use a little more work, but you can see that the line, if you compare this line to these, this one has gotten much cleaner. Oh. Well, I have some larger ones. I don't know what happened to it. But at any rate, you've probably seen these tools that have a little, yeah, the wider one works a little bit better for smoothing. But this also works for cleaning up these little raggedy places in your plate. Actually, pass that around. They do make lighter ones. I thought I had them here. And I do, if my first stroke with either the rib or this tool is not what I want, I'll immediately wet it. Because sometimes you get friction and you end up making it worse than it was before. But a little bit of moisture and it will smooth it out. So. So with this one, do I have a big roller here? No. Rollers slide into this, and you have to push hard, really push, but that's, you just put it on and then you have it on a roller. I thought I might try these stars. And I actually kind of like it when the pattern comes inside. So if I do this pattern, I'm hoping a little bit will spill over.
Could you do that like on a banding wheel and have the wheels split? Can you?
Probably.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
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 Good sculpting on.
little baking powder would have helped.
Okay, it's a little bit less than a perfect circle, but I don't think it's gonna matter.
Now she tells me I need 2 of those. Should have bought 2.
Well, but you don't have to have 2. You know, they're a problem. I have 3 of them at home, and it's like, where do I put them? The center, get it? Oh, it's got some wrinkly sides. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is get those sides out. So and then when this has burned up a little bit, I'll take the Sureform and even that up.
The Sureform is like that. And you said Lowe's or Home Depot have?
Home Depot has them, we sell them. I think we sell them more cheaply than Home Depot does right now.
So that technique you did on this.
Yeah.
Yes, that's just how I did it. Okay, and then we'll let this set up the one. Oh, I wanted to tell you, so at some point you're gonna have to turn it over and write your name on the bottom, and if you want to rip the bottom. So at home, I use all kinds of things to do this. I might use just a container and usual piece. And set it there. And I can also then check that I'm happy with my edge on the bottom. If I'm not happy right there, I'm gonna have to fix that. But that also allows you to put your name on the bottom. I use all kinds of things. I use cans and
Pat, so how much bigger
than the form. So you have to have the slab. Do you have it?
I'm sorry.
It goes to the end of the
Well,
top of company.
you kind of find out by experimenting. You can't get a really deep bowl with a pressed plate. When
So like
there
that.
are people who will just cut the slab the same size as this, but that actually only gets you
Right.
yeah, I prefer to cut it larger. If it doesn't work, I can always cut some off. And if you haven't got it textured a whole lot, you can actually just lay it back down and recut it if it's still pliable enough. But that's a good question, and I thought, well, why don't we see what would work? What could we do with this? Will it just make a whole bunch of ripples? How far up could we get? Now, this is not an ideal form. It's a bowl that's waiting to be glazed, and it has lines in it, but it doesn't have a foot ring. So I thought, well, we could try it. This one is the one I used to do this, and that was already too firm to do it. You can also use things like your pie plates and other things. If you use glass, I would put some cornstarch on it, or I used to use WD-40, which sounds really unappetizing, but it does all go off. I haven't used vegetable oil. Maybe vegetable oil would work fine. I don't know. I've just never done it. Cornstarch works. That's this is actually some powder that is on this one. Oh, and it does actually, even when it dries, it brushes off pretty easily. And I was going to show you, this is my favorite brush for brushing off. It's a shaving brush, but it's really good because it gets in all the little holes, and it's it's wide enough to brush effectively. I like it much better than paper brushes for doing that.
What do you use to make a clean name thing, just so that you don't have all the little things coming out?
Well, actually, I think that I don't think it's possible to get it absolutely clean. I think that, it's recommended that you use a ball stylus. Okay, so here's a ball stylus. It's just got a little ball on the end. But I actually find that this leaves as much junk as many other things, but a dull pencil seems to leave the least.
Susan, the teacher the other Sunday and I use it as a little piece of plastic.
Oh, that's right. You put plastic on it.
And then trace on top of that, and it's pretty clean.
Yes, that is pretty clean. If you put down a thin piece of plastic, like the vegetable bags that they sell in the
Cleaner
market.
bag or
That's
something.
true. I never think of that when I'm signing, but yes. I was just going to say, I was going to say, let's try this. Okay. You need a circle. How big a circle? How big a circle should I make? That big? So I think I should put in some cornstarch. So I think it can stick.
Can I ask you something? See this one?
Yeah.
This one is a lot shallower than this one.
Right.
And why is it? Because the form is different?
Or that might have been the same form. I'm not sure, but I think that when I lifted it up, I wanted a flatter plate.
Yeah.
So, I changed my mind.
Manipulate.
Yeah, and you can leave it.
Maybe the bottom just flat, you don't add up behind.
I leave it flat, but you can put a foot ring on.
Oh,
There's no reason you can't. As soon as it's leather hard, and you can roll a coil, score and slip and all of that. Your coil shouldn't be wet, it should be also drying.
For that size, if you did flat, it will dry flat, pretty good.
Well, what I do is I weight it. So we have a whole box full of weights over there of all different sizes, so I'm gonna try this. See what happens.
So that bowl has some texture on the bottom compared to
Yes, and it might imprint.
Yeah.
That's why I thought,
Put a piece of plastic on
well, I thought I'd just try the cornstarch, but we'll see. If that doesn't work, then I should have put plastic. Okay, so. Oh, I'll just do it over this handy pipe leaf. And I brought a brush.
What if you brushed it on the clay instead of on the bowl?
Well, I thought I'd do both, actually.
You could do both?
Yeah. This is like when you flour your cookie cutters. I don't think you need a whole lot.
When you use the wood roll, you didn't brush the moisture on something?
No, I've never had any trouble with wood sticking.
So wood is on.
Unless you're pressing into texture. Texture can, if your wood, like some of these, they're quite rough,
Right.
and if you're pressing into texture, you can have a problem. So in that case, I do use some cornstarch or powder or something.
And the plaster, I know you should use cornstarch too.
Plaster will release most everything.
Oh, okay.
But I've never used plaster on a pressed plate because I suppose it will really thick, but I'm always afraid that plaster is kind of fragile. I wouldn't want to use a small one and have it snap as I press. I really have no knowledge of the strength of plaster, so I haven't wanted to risk it. But we'll risk this.
It's full now.
Flip it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to break my bowl, but if it breaks, it's okay. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, it looks like we're gonna have star-shaped.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's pretty good.
Nice.
Another Christmas dish. Okay, so then again, you're gonna have to wait until these edges firm up so that you can smooth them and do whatever it is you want with them.
Did the texture come in there too?
There's a little, whoops. There's a little bit, but I think with my rib,
Yeah.
I will be able to smooth that out just fine.
When we saw those poems at the elephant still, what else?
I got everything on my list. Are there any questions?
I heard you mention you just use B-mix. Why is that?
Well, first of all, I think we're out of all kinds of other things.
That's a good answer.
But I know B-mix to be no, it's not as fluid as porcelain. It's got more stability in it. Probably stony would be really good for this kind of thing. I mentioned if I were going to use an aardvark, I'd probably use B-mix with sand. But the ones I've made have all been with B-mix, and I've been happy with the results. So, and it's a good, it's kind of one of our workhorse clays.
So, Kevin, did you press a leaf into it
Yeah, I have-
before, after?
No, before I did
Oh, so you put the leaf when you.
I rolled the leaf onto the flat slab. Other questions?
Same thing here, the leaf got rolled on.
Oh, that leaf, well, it
Looks like a cutout.
did. That one did get rolled on. That is a stencil that we have in the cupboard there. And I only used a part of it. So it's a big leaf stencil, and I used just 2 of the lobes of the leaf.
And you press the,
I rolled it on with lightly with my pony roller.
Yeah.
To make that, and then took it off, and then went ahead and pressed the plate. And you can see too that was a pretty flat plate. I didn't
can
press
see.
it way down. I used, actually, I think I might have brought, no, I didn't, I think it's up there, the one that I used.
2 different colored glazes here.
Yeah.
And you also did, you do this, right?
No, that was, I think, cool. So, this one's on the wrong, the purple should be on the inside. So we'll just pretend the purple's on the inside. And then when you put your clay down and you roll it, everywhere is gonna be this, I think it's 3/8 of an inch. So it's not like using a regular rolling pin where the edges usually get thinner because you can't maintain absolute pressure. But this one you
Unscrew
can.
the edges.
Yes.
It's like a weightlifting thing. Add relief.
Yes.
Whatever you, oh, I see, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have 2 of them. I have one for my clay and I have one for cookies. Because even though I believe I can clean mine sufficiently to use it for both, my children don't. Did you make that with the food rolling pin or the clay rolling pin? Yeah, so that's how it should be for 3/8. And if you, Amazon, if you take off the purple one, you have 1/4 inch.
So they're in 1/8 inch increments?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice and it's great for making cookies. Yeah, that's mine. That's what the package
wanted to
looks
show
like.
them the package.
Yeah, that's the package. I wasn't sure that these would be in the closet, so I brought mine. Amazon. Everything's on Amazon.
It's a roller.
That's a slip.
Everybody loves your slip.
Which one first, slippers or the blue?
Okay, the blue is actually, so, I can't remember when you joined, but Shar did a demo on basically agate ware, mixing clays, and I showed how to color clay. So I like to color clay. I made this into a blue clay, Nazarene blue. And then I didn't have quite enough, so I used a little white here. But you can tell that it's blue clay because
I couldn't tell, I said, what is that blue?
yeah,
Why
that's blue
is
clay.
that?
And that was one of the things wrong with this. The first ones I made, I used a piece of the blue clay and it came out much better than using another glaze.
Interesting. And, oh,
Do you
I
use
see.
color with underglaze?
Pardon me?
Do you use color? Maybe I
Oh, I use, if you're coloring clay, you use a mason stain, and you can purchase mason stains here, 2 tablespoons for $3. And what you do is, you have your mason stain in a little cup, and you add just a little bit of water and a little bit of water until it gets to the consistency of toothpaste. And then you take your hunk of clay, and you make a bowl out of it, and you put the toothpaste in, and you start to wedge, and you wedge, and wedge, and wedge, forever. And once you think, this is it, I'm not doing any more, you wrap it up, leave it overnight,
And then wedge some more.
and then you wedge some more. But,
If you wet so much, would the clay get drier?
you know, I haven't had that problem, actually. I suppose you could spritz the clay, but I haven't had that problem. I mean, you're just busy wedging and wedging and wedging and wedging. And you have added a little bit of water with the mason stain, but you're right, you probably haven't added as much as you're taking out. And you need to do it on a safe space because inevitably somewhere it's gonna squirt. So the first rounds of wedging, you have to really try to be kind of gentle and try to get that absorbed by the clay. But then once you've got it mixed in, it's just a matter of wedging forever.
It's water soluble.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Blue clay,
So, my father made my mother a cake turntable for decorating cakes, okay, which I inherited, and this is what I use at home. But you can also, and I don't know what these cost now, but this is a Lazy Susan base. And you turn this hole around and then you can attach it to a piece of wood. And I don't know, it works much better when it's attached to wood. And this is an old one, so it's pretty noisy. But you can buy these at Home Depot. You don't have to buy a fancy one.
Thrift store might have one.
Yeah, who knows where you might be able to get cheaper substitutes for banding wheels. And the silver banding wheels are cheaper than the blue ones too. Dave?
Before people start to leave, if you didn't sign in, please do before you leave.
Oh, yes, thank you. I thought he was gonna tell me how wonderful it is.
Wonderful.